Arthur Book Wormington III here, and it's been such a long time since I've had the pleasure of speaking with you. What have I been up to in that time? Well, I've been reading Danganronpa, of course. Today, I'm going to be having a look at 3 different books in the Danganronpa series, starting with Danganronpa Zero. Danganronpa Zero is a light novel, meaning that it is a very small book. It is not quite so small that it is a short story. It is not quite so big that it is a novel. It is pretty small, something like a Goosebumps book, which I may have talked about once before. In this book, we follow a few different characters, with our main one being Ryoko Otonashi. I'm sorry if I pronounced these wrong. As you can see, I'm not very well versed in speaking things that are not English. It is a fault of mine. I am not the ultimate non-English speaker. That's a sad thing. Anyway, Ryoko is our main character, but she might not even know that, as she has severe amnesia. The entire book, she constantly forgets everything that is going on. This is a bit of a problem though, so she goes to our second main character, Yasuke Matsuda, who is the ultimate neuroscientist. He knows everything to do with the brain. It's quite incredible. Now he has been treating her and trying to get her memory back, or maybe he's just understanding her sickness. It's a little vague, but he's trying to do something with her brain. That's all you need to know. There are a few side characters like the ultimate spy, Kamishiro, but he's a little bit of a jerk and a perv, so I don't particularly like him. There's also a few characters from the game in here, including Makoto and Kyoko and Junko, so that rounds out the cast. But what will they be doing in this Zero adventure? This book is set before the first game, and it tries to cover some plot threads or holes as they were in the first game, and it does so in a way that is fairly compelling. Now, I have to say that this book has not been officially translated into English. There is only the fan translation, which is what I've read. As such, the story is a little bit on the English side, where some of it does not make sense, some of it is misspelt, and some of it just has some weird dialect to it. That is fine because it is a story that has not been officially translated, so fantastic work to the person out there that has translated it. Now, I don't want to go into many details, but one of the problems that this book has is that it teases information from the get-go, and it just tells you to hang on until the end of the book in order to get answers. Normally, that is sort of how a book works, but this one is a little bit on your nose. It will say things like, "Oh, I am Matsuda, and I have a deep, dark secret. Find out next week in Volume 2, because I'm not telling you now." That's not very good storytelling, in my opinion, and it made it a little bit frustrating to get through because it just kept doing this. When it was not doing this and it was just focusing on the characters, it wasn't particularly bad. Another problem are the twists. I saw them coming from quite far off, so I was not surprised when they actually did happen in the second volume. Partly because I knew to look out for them, because they said, "Hey, there's a twist in the second volume. Remember that Matsuda has a deep, dark secret." Why would you do that? Because of this, I cannot recommend this book. It is not terribly long by any means, but it isn't very good either. I found a lot of it to be slow, a lot of the plot to be plodding, and I don't feel like it had very much impact on the overall story. Simply reading a synopsis of this is more than enough to get the general gist of what happened and to feel like you know more about the story of Danganronpa. The second book I would like to talk about is Danganronpa If. From the title, it should be pretty obvious that it is a what-if scenario. This book has so many spoilers to the first Danganronpa game. It is absolutely ridiculous. In this scenario, we have Makoto knowing things that he is not meant to know, and as such, one of the main characters is not killed. Oh my god. Because of this, we follow that character and their thoughts as they go through the game, as they go through the book, as how they would have interacted with different things had this game gone differently. It is fairly interesting, and it does give some more insight into a character that we did not get to spend a whole lot of time with. So I think that this book is fairly good. It is also a very short story. It is not long at all, and it comes bundled in Danganronpa 2, so there's no excuse not to read it. I think that it is a great story. Even if it is not canon, it is still fun, and I do think that it does improve upon a character from the Danganronpa universe. The final book that I want to talk about is actually set before Danganronpa 0, so I guess it would be Danganronpa -1, or something like that. Now, this tells the story of Makoto and the worst day of his life. The book starts with our headmaster picking the ultimate lucky student out of the lottery, but the other people in his committee don't think that luck is a trait. He then reminds them of a character called Nagito, and they're like, okay, luck is definitely a trait, but we don't think that this new kid will have the same kind of luck. So he goes, it's okay, we will invite her and see what she is made out of. That's right, I said her. Now we cut to Makoto, who's actually having the worst day of his life. He has got no luck whatsoever. Everything is going wrong for him. He loses at rock, paper, scissors. Everything is going wrong. It's incredible. But due to a series of unfortunate events, he is actually changing the course of his fate, and he changes the role of the lucky student. It is a fairly interesting read. It is another short story, being only 20 or so pages long, so it is quite easy to get through. The thing is, it has no real impact on the overall story at all. It is something that you can easily skip and not be the worst for wear. I don't know why this kind of story was released. It doesn't really expand upon the character or anything like that, so I'm not sure why this one was made. But as a read, it wasn't bad, so at least you can read it. It's better than nothing. In fact, I thought that this book was probably overall more enjoyable than Danganronpa 0, so there is that. Next time on Book Club, we'll be having a look at some of the other Danganronpa stories. There are quite a few to pick from, so I cannot wait to see which ones I actually choose. Until then, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go back to reading my book. By the way, this book doesn't actually have any words in it. It's actually a picture book. It's filled with artwork and stuff. It's fantastic. It's from the game. Now, in this book, we follow Ryoko Onatashi Washiwa. I should have learned her last name before doing this. My bad. Makoto's worst day ever. Hello, cat. You want to go outside, cat? Okay.